Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, I am Amirah Irdina and today I am going to present to you my lesson plan for an English class using the dramatic technique of song rendition. So let's hop right in. First we have the lesson overview. I am planning to teach Form 4 students with the CEFR level of B1 High, and I plan on making it a double period lesson, which means the lesson is going to be 1 hour long. The theme of the lesson is people and culture, and the topic is life is a song. Why I chose this topic is because all of the songs that I chose to be included in this lesson all have moral values in it. And the main skill is listening, meanwhile the complementary skill is writing. Next we have the content standards and the learning standards. These were derived from the DSKP for Form 4. Now we have the learning outcomes, also known as the objectives. So, the objectives of my lesson is, at the end of this lesson, students should be able to choose the correct main idea for each audio after listening to them, and they have to identify the main idea using their own words after listening to the audio, and finally they would have to write at least 6 lines to explain the main idea that they get at the end of the lesson.
Now it's finally time to see what I have in mind for the activities in my Life is a Song Listening for Main Idea lesson.
Before I explain my activities, I have to clarify that the idea behind the seating arrangement is a cluster seating arrangement, and why? It's because according to Nur Safia et al., some of the advantages of a cluster seating arrangement include that the cooperativeness between students can be increased, and there can also be more effective communication between students and also the teacher. So that is why the seating is used, because there is an activity at the end where it requires collaborative learning, and I decided to use this cluster seating because it is the most suitable one for that activity. Finally, we get to the lesson itself. Firstly, we have the pre-lesson, in which the teacher comes into the class and greets the students. This is simple and it will only take about 5 minutes to do so. And next, we have the pre-listening stage. Now for the pre-listening stage, I allocated 10 minutes for this stage, and this includes activating schemata and also the teaching part of the lesson, because in order for the students to be able to do the task, I have to teach first, and the teaching part is included in the pre-listening stage. Now we have finally come to the pre-listening stage, and the first activity here is the activating schemata activity, and in this stage, teacher will have to write the lyrics of Katy Perry's Rise, the chorus, which goes, "When the fire's at my feet again, and the vultures all start circling, they're whispering, you're out of time, but still I rise." From that stanza of lyrics of the chorus, the teacher will then paste 3 pictures that are kind of related to the song, kind of not, and the students will have to choose, in their opinion, which picture describes the whole stanza, the whole chorus. Not just a line, not just 2 lines, but as a whole, which picture describes that chorus. This activity is going to correlate with an activity for the homework, so this is the importance of this activity, other than activating schemata, of course. When the students have all picked their answers for the picture, the teacher will then reveal that they were actually trying to scan for the main idea of the whole chorus. Doing it subconsciously or not realizing at all, they were trying to search for the main idea. And that is what they are going to do today, which is listening for main ideas. So the materials for the activating schemata is the lyrics to Rise by Katy Perry and also the pictures over here. Now, the next stage of pre-listening is the teaching part, and what the teacher does in this stage is they just distribute the notes and they will teach whatever it is inside the notes. And in my case, the notes include how to take notes during listening, what you have to pay attention to, for example, repetition or intonation or clues, and how to get your main idea if it's not clearly stated. So you have to kind of connect the dots. That is what the teacher has to do before actually jumping into the while listening activities. This is the material. As you can see, it's developed by myself, and the students can go step by step. For example, if they're just listening for main ideas, they can use the top one, but if they want to listen to inferred main ideas, ones that are not clearly stated, they can follow the bottom ones as well. Now, the most exciting part, while listening. So for while listening, I have 2 activities and it takes up 20 minutes. The reason why I have 2 activities is because the song excerpts are really not really that long, so I don't want to drag on a song for too long, and giving a lot of songs for students to listen to makes sure that they're not bored. So that's why I have 2 activities, and it's different levels of difficulty too. The first one, we have an activity where students will be given worksheets and then they will listen to 3 songs. And in the worksheet itself, there's a place for them to write notes, there's a place for them to make connections by themselves, and there's also a small space for them to write what the main idea is. But since this is the first activity, the main idea will be given because it's their first time around, first time having a go at it. So I provided them a bit of help to make sure they understand how to write the sentences for the main idea. And keep in mind that all of the songs I chose are all songs that have moral values. So the phrases of main ideas are all phrases that reflect moral values. So after listening to the songs once and after writing their answers, there has to be a gap between each song so that they can actually write and not rush through it. And finally, after listening to everything, the song has to be repeated one more time. The whole audio has to be repeated one more time so that they can check their answers. Now for the second activity, which is quite similar to the first activity. The only difference is after the students take down the notes and make their own connectors, they have to make their own main ideas. Instead of having to choose the main ideas that the teacher provides, they have to make their own main ideas. This is a good practice for them to be able to do it themselves instead of relying on the teacher. And it makes them gain a bit of independence in that sense. Now you might be wondering, what's so important about note-taking? Why do they have to apply it in the while listening stage when they're actually just listening for main ideas? Isn't notes for specific details or supporting details? Well, actually, according to Rozan, as cited in Muhammad, note-taking makes sure or ensures that the note-taker, the person who writes notes, have all of the ideas in front of them at a glance. So when you take down notes, you can see the whole picture, the big picture of what you're listening to, instead of just listening and recalling by memory. When you take down notes, at least you have a picture of what it is. And it helps with interpreting the text better. These are the materials. As you can see, they're quite similar, but the one for activity 2 is without the options given by the teacher. Now for my personal favorite, the post-listening part of the lesson. And this part will only take 20 minutes as well. In the groups of 6 that were already predetermined because of their seating arrangements, the students will have to send a representative from each group to the teacher, and the group representatives will have to draw lots. Now what's on these lots is moral value phrases. For example, don't give up, or you are beautiful just the way you are. Now, using these phrases, the group has to come up with a song, basically at least one verse of a song, with at least 6 lines because there are 6 people in each group, or if a group has 5 people, then the minimum lines will be 5. And each person has to sing at least 1 line. The group members, the students, will have to write a verse according to the main idea phrase, the moral value phrase that they got. And you might be wondering, this is kinda opposite of what they were doing the whole time. Well, actually, at the end, when the students are presenting their songs, the other groups will have to take down notes and guess what is the moral value that the group presenting is trying to portray. So not only is this a creative activity where they can release their creativity, it's also an activity that can help them recall what they've learned throughout the day, but now in a group setting. So not only is this a creative activity where they can release their creativity, it's also an activity that can help them recall what they've learned throughout the day, but now in a group setting. Now, you might think that post-listening activities are more suited for individual activities where you can really test whether a student understands what you have taught in class. But according to Dr. Simin, actually students prefer collaborative activities. It allows them to be more open and cooperative with their friends, they understand the material better, they can even communicate with the teacher better during collaborative activities. And since the whole class, they've been doing work quite individually even though they were seated in groups, this is the opportunity for the class to be more collaborative in the post-lesson activity. Plus, it's quite a hard, demanding thing for them to actually come up with a song in 10 minutes. So that is why they have to work together, because the more proficient students can help the less proficient ones and to produce something that is theirs. And this is the material for the post activity. It's a place where they can brainstorm and then write their song down there. The post lesson is only 5 minutes allocated to it because it's basically just a recap of class, what they learned in class, how to take notes, what to listen to, repetition, intonation, how to make connections, and all of that. Now, another interesting part is I also designed homework for this class. For the homework, according to their groups and the songs that they wrote, they have to complete it with at least like one verse and one chorus. Then they have to come up with an interpretive picture, interpretive graphic. It can either be drawn, or if they prefer, it can also be digitally designed. And these posters that the students design have to be brought into class the next week, so that it kind of can be like an art exhibition with the posters and the lyrics of the songs next to it.
And that's the end of my lesson. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.